As I mentioned in the previous Star Wars video, it would be fun to envision a Knights versus Stormtroopers scenario. So, let's explore the following. What if a Stormtrooper battalion ended up on Earth during the medieval age? How might this clash unfold if they found themselves amidst a conflict with an army of feudal knights and a less developed, deeply religious population? In this unique scenario, we will explore whether the knights stand a chance against an army of super advanced soldiers from another galaxy. Different Stormtrooper battalions may vary from each other, but let's assume that an assault battalion of around 800 soldiers arrives, armed with blasters and some military equipment. To level the field, let's limit the Stormtroopers to having only a few AT-ST walkers instead of the heavy armored vehicles like AT-ATs or warships. Those are left in the galaxy far, far away. Facing the troopers, let's say, are around 5,000 medieval knights. This formidable force of knights stands ready to counter the Stormtrooper battalion. The good ending would be something like this. Upon their arrival, the Stormtroopers encounter a world that is underdeveloped, yet filled with armed conflicts and religious disputes. Initially, they are welcomed and revered, as medieval people might perceive them as God-sent messiahs. When the troopers realize that there is no way back home, they would probably establish their own knight order, embracing and adapting to the daily life of the age while blending their own culture. Treaties may be forged with local kingdoms, and optimally, their technological prowess could ignite rapid civilizational growth. However, a different path could lead to the bad ending. Tensions may escalate if the Stormtroopers desire power and control over the kingdoms instead of cooperation. Even if they don't, conflict might arise from the other side. In an era dominated by religious orthodoxy, the influence of Christian leaders, and the presence of numerous religious inquisitors, the concept of people from a different planet is deemed heretical. If the Stormtroopers persist in claiming they're from another world, defying the idea that Earth is the center of the universe, religious fanatics and the Inquisition could apprehend and even execute some of them. Such events could serve as catalysts for a future conflict. As tensions escalate, the Stormtroopers devise a plan to avenge their fallen comrades, culminating in an assault on the Knights' stronghold with the aim of bringing the responsible Inquisitors to justice. Predictably, the Knights vehemently oppose this intent, sparking an armed confrontation. In the event of an attack, the Stormtroopers, armed with blasters and an array of advanced weaponry, coupled with modern military tactics, could potentially breach the fortress and quickly eliminate the Knights and Inquisitors. Blaster bolts possess immense destructive power, emitting lethal high-energy particle beams that have the capability to melt through the Knights' armor and chainmail, greatly reducing their chances of survival. However, recognizing the Stormtroopers' vulnerabilities, the Knights might still have the potential to pose a threat to this modern army. First, they must strategically deploy their bow and crossbow militias to somehow match the troopers' blasters in long-range combat. By aiming precisely at the openings where the blaster shot's coming from, they might be able to hit gaps between the troopers' armor plates and strike them. A more powerful crossbow could puncture the armor, or at the very least, a forceful strike to the helmet might incapacitate a trooper. Furthermore, AT-STs can be destroyed by the medieval army using well-calibrated springalds and catapults, which could target the AT-ST's large head units, potentially disabling them. These tactics might evoke memories of the way the Ewoks fought the Stormtroopers in Return of the Jedi. After all, they managed to stand a chance against them in the end. The Knights' expertise extends to close-quarter melee combat, effectively utilizing spears, swords, and other weapons to wound the Stormtroopers. Given the armor's aforementioned weak points, the Knights may have a notable advantage in hand-to-hand combat. The Knights can also expect support from the peasantry, who join their ranks wielding handcrafted weapons. Coordinated charges as the enemy enters the fortress and surprise attacks or sabotage efforts could significantly bolster the Knights' chances. Indeed, the medieval Knights stand a chance of overcoming the Stormtroopers, particularly if they can rally their allied armies. After all, this is their planet, and people may unite to repel the invasion of an alien force.
And these last points, too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial Stormtroopers are so precise.
Contrary to what old Obi-Wan says, particularly in movies, Stormtroopers are frequently depicted as ineffective soldiers with poor aim and subpar combat skills. However, this representation does not necessarily reflect the reality. In this medieval context, should the Stormtroopers live up to their true potential as the galaxy's best-trained soldiers, the medieval knights could find themselves up against unbeatable odds. The Stormtroopers' superior skills and tactics would enable them to engage from cover, systematically eliminating targets with precision. Even fortress refuge might prove futile, as the ATSTs could breach the walls, and swift surprise attacks could effectively neutralize all defenders. In summary, if a battalion of Stormtroopers were to find themselves amidst the medieval society, the destiny of this vulnerable populace would likely be determined by the might of the Star Wars army.